Off the coast of Washington state, the San Juan Islands offer America's last bastion against man-made pollution. Most of these pristine bays and channels are accessible only by seaplane or ferry, which excludes the hurried and worried of the world. It's not a setting where you'd expect to find the most obsessively intense coach in NFL history, but it's here that Don Coryell has decided to build his retirement home.
Hello? Hey, just fine, but you're too late, you know. We drank the wine, we ate the crab. You should have called a little sooner.
Near Friday Harbor, Washington, Don Coryell has found a haven far from the pressures of NFL sidelines, where in St. Louis, then San Diego, his fiery passion for the game took him to the top, then nearly engulfed him. After 33 years as a head football coach, Coryell has earned his place in this enchanted forest.
And there's so many places to walk, trails everywhere. It's really beautiful. We never cut down any limbs. Don't believe in cutting down trees and limbs. You just have to push them aside. We like climbing stairs, and we'll do it for exercise. We'll come up and down here 12, 15 times. It's a lot of steps, 31 up this first level. Here's the Douglas fir, and right up on the top of that tree, and usually you can see it, is an eagle's nest. You'll see them standing on limbs up there. They'll be exercising their arms. Well, I originally wanted to be a forest ranger. That's what I went into when I first started school. And then I just was not interested in all the trees and all the grasses of Montana. So I went into PE and decided to coach, and I loved it. I love the people. I am working with the players, the coaches. Just nothing better than being under the gun and working under pressure.
In 1973, Don Coryell put the pressure squarely on NFL defenses when he was hired by the St. Louis Cardinals and brought along a passing fancy that had been years in the making.
When he came to the Cardinals in '73 from San Diego State, he brought with him a passing game that the league had not seen before. And Don Coryell single-handedly opened up the National Football League. I would say half the teams in the league now are using either his passing game intact or a derivative of such.
And Don would always be yelling, "Throw it, throw it." I mean, it'd be third down in inches or fourth down in inches, and he'd come running down to the huddle that we had, timeout, and he'd say, "Throw it, throw it," and say, "Okay, Don, okay, throw it, throw it." He wanted to throw it every down.
In St. Louis, they called his wide open ways the cardiac cards. In San Diego, it was Air Coryell. And overnight, both teams were transformed from losers to winners.
I'd say he has got to be in the top handful of coaches to ever coach, because he did it at every level. And he would go in and take programs that are totally down, turn them right around. And the amazing thing about him, and the lesson we can learn from this, is he was the most down-to-earth, no ego, extremely honest, but just tremendously intense. When he got ready for a game, as if he was going to play the game. And he projected that to the players.
I likened his eyes and the expression to the very cardinal on the helmet that we wore. I mean, it's kind of a beady look, and you look at that cardinal logo sometime and look at that eye.
I guess when I concentrate on something very strongly, I do have a very grim and very terrible look on my face. I'm really not pain.
These days, the classic Coryell game face is applied only to salmon fishing in Puget Sound.
I think there's something nibbling.
In our stadium, sometimes he'd just flip the light off, and he'd go, "Listen to him." You know, you go like that, and everybody would be, you know, that never happened to you. You know, you're going, "The lights are off." You're sitting in there, you know. Well, you hear the other coach up there talking, the other team yelling and screaming, you know what I mean? He goes, "Listen to him." And he'd be, you know, and then when he flipped those lights back on, you're going, everybody's like this. Don found a way to hate the other team before that ball was snapped. You hated them.
Oh, there's no question. No question about this. Some teams I hated. Yeah, I build up hatreds, real hatreds, against just a few. I like people for what they are, and I dislike them for what they are.
Even in retirement, the wounds had not healed. and the pain is still near the surface.
Oh, I gave my life to football. You bet I did. It's just that I knew I was hypertensive. God almighty, I knew I had high blood pressure, and I was taking pills, and couldn't go to sleep at night. And yeah, I decided I better cool down a little bit and do the best I can, but I'm not going to die for football. I made up my mind those last few years I was not going to die on a football field. I had a lot to live for, and I wanted to have some fun.
Friday Harbor is the perfect place to heal. The dream home of Don and Lisa Coryell is nearly complete, and it's just far enough away to put both the past and the future in proper perspective.
I remember the good things. Very, very few bad things do I remember. I tend to wipe those from my mind. I think of the pleasant things. I think of the good guys, the wonderful people I've worked with. The hell with these autumn years. It's going to be a whole bunch more years I'm going to live. I'll be 108. I'll still be moving around. I think, because if I was on that boat, here's exactly what I'd say. Hey, look at that house. Oh boy, do I wish I lived there. I live here, and it's fun.